everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Equation Stories of Women in STEM, a podcast where we shine spotlight on incredible women in STEM, explore their journeys, challenges, and triumphs. I'm Ashwika Bansal, a high school student with a passion for all things STEM related, and today I'm joined by Ms. Shakshi, a PhD research scholar at NTU School of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to learn about your journey. Would you please like to share a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Anviksha. It's very nice to be here. I am Sakshi, and currently I am a PhD student in the School of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering at NTU Singapore. I did my bachelor's from University of Delhi in chemistry, and then I did my master's from IIT Gandhinagar in India again. And after
Mhm.
that, I pursued my PhD here, and this is my first year, so there are a lot more to explore. But let's see, how much we can talk about it.
That's interesting. So, before we start into the technical side or more towards the STEM related, could you share what first sparked your interest in mechanical or aeronautical engineering? Like, what was the particular moment or experience in your life that made you say, this is what I want to do in the future? And considering you've done a bachelor's in chemistry, this is quite different, I think, from following or pursuing chemistry as a subject.
So actually, even when I was in my school, I was very inspired by the story of Kalpana Chawla. So it was in
Mhm.
my syllabus in a Hindi textbook, and I realized how much inspiring it is. Then I really gave an exam for aerospace, and I got a decent rank to got a scholarship for studying. But since it was not very conventional study, back in India at that time, I think it was 2016, maybe 2016, 17. I couldn't join because I had no idea and no one was there to ask from. So I took a bit more conventional path, and I really used to like chemistry in my 11th and 12th. So I decided to do a bachelor's in chemistry rather than going in that in aerospace engineering. But it was always in my head. And then I did my chemistry from DU. At that time COVID struck, and I didn't have a lot of hands on, so I didn't know actually what I really like to do. I knew that I really like to study chemistry, but
Yeah,
it's not the same in the lab as well as in the textbook. Things are very different in different subjects.
that
So
is true.
I continued after giving IIT JAM. I continued my master's study in chemistry at IIT Gandhinagar. But all of
Mhm.
a sudden, there was one new faculty who mailed everyone in science that they are very interested. Actually, he is very interested in having some students from science who are really passionate about application in mechanical engineering, and I
Mhm.
really was. So I thought, let's give it a try. And it was just my first or second week of IIT Gandhinagar, but I really wanted to try something new. I think it was thrilling. So I just went to meet that prof, and things went well, and he took me as his master student. After that, I
Mhm.
started reading literature, what's there already been done, that where I can add value, and I found a sweet spot, and then we started working on that. And that's where I started in the field of heat transfer. And I realized that actually I really love chemistry, but that's only in textbook. When it comes to lab, it really doesn't interest me that much. When I do work
Mhm.
in mechanical labs, I think it's not more
Wait.
exhausting, as well as I really find it very thrilling when something I see some application in real world. So
Yeah.
I decided that I'll go for a PhD in mechanical engineering. And I mean, there are a lot of friends that affected my perception as well. I must say, I
Okay.
mean, we should surround ourselves with good people who will give you good suggestions. So,
I agree.
my friends were like, you will be able to do it, go ahead. And my professor there in IIT was also willing, and he was saying that you are actually a very good candidate for PhD in mechanical, and you should try mechanical. I think uh, I mean, people from chemistry are really needed because you have now both of the knowledge, and you should
Knowledge.
explore. Yeah. Then I applied in mechanical and aerospace engineering in NTU Singapore, and I got in, and that's how it
Fascinating.
started.
That's such a nice way. I love how this is a journey for you, clearly, even personally, even though you already know like this is something that interests you due to like whether it be societal constrictions and restraints, which
Yeah.
quite I think a lot of girls, especially in India, do have on them. And it's something that takes time for people to understand and accept that girls can and are needed to like join places such as mechanical engineering. Myself, my family's quite a lot pushed me because I've thought like I've loved mechanical engineering, and recently I've done an internship which made me also like make sure that this is the path I want to follow. And I think sometimes we're not pushed enough. Like you said, your professor helped you realize. I think it is important for us to like sometimes have this pushing force telling us this is a great way and this is something we should go out of our comfort zone and try out
Yeah.
because we
Actually,
might not know what happens.
because at that time I was still thinking, I'm
Yeah.
applying, but I was, I mean, I was self-doubting myself that why someone will choose me. But when my
Hmm.
prof and my few friends who are like very close to me, they just told me, if not you, then who? Then that is
Then
something very encouraging, and I really find it affects your interview, it affects your confidence in the interview. So yeah,
ha having
getting
someone
pushed
with
is
like
really,
yeah,
really very blessed. Yeah, I
important.
feel that it's blessed. Yeah.
That's such nice to hear. And I think this is what I wanted, like with this podcast, I would like to help out girls and push them to find and explore what they would like. And thank you again for joining me because like this is how we can tell more stories, and your story is already so fascinating. Um, I would also like to bring upon, since you said chemistry in lab is different to what's in the textbook. Do you think the same way about like all the literature you have read about mechanical engineering or engineering in general, whereas when you do your research or when you're in the lab, it's quite different?
Yeah, actually it is. So I think even it applies to every field, that whatever is in textbook is just to show how things work. But actually, to make things work, lab have a very different scenario and very different setup. So yeah, what looks like in textbook is different.
Mm-hmm.
I must say there are a lot of things that are hid in the textbook. Once you get exposure of lab and you really want to make things work for your field, for your science, then I think things are not that easy as it is written in a textbook or even in a research paper. So I always complain, prof, I'm getting slow
Yes,
because I think this is something is not written anywhere. How will I understand? So prof say,
yes,
yeah, it goes for everywhere. We don't understand. It's hard to just read
right about it.
and able to apply in your lab work. Yeah, that's very different.
So I basically having experience, this is also a misconception, I think, that like what you read is what you do, especially in fields of STEM, because you never know what new innovation or something new that you can spur up in your brain thinking, oh, this is the easier way to like get something done, right? And lab
Yeah.
experience for that is obviously needed. That's great to hear. Personally, I really love lab experience. I used to do DT in my school, and that's also something that made me think, oh, I want to do engineering because I like reading about different materials. You've done material science, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
Reading about different materials and actually getting to see what can be done with them is quite different. And that's more fascinating, I would say, like being in the lab itself and actually using those materials to create new products. Yeah. Moving on, your current work in PhD involves ad additive manufacturing and material design for soft robotics. Could you please explain what soft robotics is for students my age, and how does additive
Yeah.
manufacturing is playing a key role in its advancement?
Okay. So for the audience, actually robots doesn't look like what it looks in a fiction. That's
Mm-hmm.
the definition of soft robotics. So we see a
Okay.
giant robot out of steel. They are made and they just walk hugely to like fight like a villain. But
Yes.
robots are not actually that. The such robots are actually not in real. And there are so many robots. There are so many things which
Mm-hmm.
are defined as robot. And but we as a fiction lover don't understand it. So soft robotics is actually aware the interaction between the human and machines, both of the counterparts, they can come together to work. This is what mostly soft robotics looks like. So maybe I can explain it with a very simple example of e-skin.
Mm.
So electronic skins
Okay.
are very much in discussion nowadays. So
Mm-hmm.
it looks like that, oh okay, it's not made up of steel or made up of something very hard, so
Yes.
it can't be
A robot.
automated. But that's not the case. So robots are actually those who can help us do our small work. Maybe you can see a lot of news coming for artificial heart. I just saw a news today that
Yes.
people from Georgia Tech, they are making heart valves. So robot are those where you can have that control over them and can make them work as you require. And they're made up of, like the name suggests, there are soft materials because we need soft materials to interact with humans more. And
Yes.
such mismatch of the mechanical property as well as material property are not there. That's why soft robotics is very important nowadays when it comes where people want surgery, people want artificial brain, ear, skin.
Yes.
That's it.
That's
Yeah,
quite
that's what.
fast. So that's quite fascinating. So I do robotics, but I do Vex robotics, which is using metal and carbon fiber and all of these types of materials. And it's quite different to what you're saying. I didn't even know that existed until I did my research, and this was so fascinating to me because by the sounds of it, this can be really helpful and it's quite innovative for especially the medicine and medical work. Um, and this is something very new to me too, and I'm so glad, like, and so interested about this. What interests you to do this or continue this rather than going straight into like aeronautical or space? Like, what made you pick this to research?
Actually, because I was very interested in nature all the time, and one of my course actually inspired me a lot with nature designed principles. So
Mm-hmm.
after studying that, I realized the power of nature and material design. So biomimicking the structure and the microstructure inside a material was quite fascinating, and I really wanted to work on this because I was just so fascinated. I used to watch YouTube videos, knowing how people are making robots, getting inspired with gecko feeds, and there are
Yes.
so many. They are inspired from ants to build like large architecture, and all those things really inspired me to pursue this particular field, that where I can understand nature, can mimic them for mostly for people who need assistive things, assistive
Oh,
technology.
yes.
And I really think the population, the way it's going ahead, more of the elderly population have will be like the
Benefited
major
from
part of the
this.
population. And I think such assistive devices which is friendly, it's not the robot
Hmm.
which is in fiction but is friendly and doesn't
Yes.
seem like it's scary, or it's something which can integrate so well. So I think such things inspired me to like explore this particular field. That's what my
That's
motivation look.
That's good to hear. This is actually something I don't think a lot of people speak about. You can get inspiration from anywhere or any of your passions, and which can lead you to develop something or even further your own knowledge for your own game into something so interesting. So I'm glad that That's quite interesting to hear. And moving on to this question, since your research combines the concept of mechanical engineering, material science, and robotics, like you mentioned, how important do you think interdisciplinary knowledge is for driving innovation in STEM? And how do you bring, like you said, you've already brought into action this knowledge from science and your love from science has helped you come to this. But is there anything else that bridges this gap between all three of these
Actually,
fields?
I always say this to my juniors as well, and I really believe that great science and great inventions are always gonna be from the person who understand everything. Yeah, we should understand one particular thing in a very in a very deeply manner, but I still think because science is not a subject, it's a problem, and the problem
Hmm,
have no defined solution. So how can we constrain that a problem can be solved only by a mechanical engineer, or maybe from a mechanics of a material,
mindset.
and not from the basic science which comes from physics or maybe chemistry or maybe mathematics. So I think all the great research in world actually are going because of the interdisciplinary collaborations between the prof or maybe students who are switching here and there to work and to push themselves and the field ahead. So with that, I think I'm getting inspired from a lot of people whom I even don't know. I just see a research paper and I think this is
Yes.
so innovative. How could someone think so? And then I go for getting into their profile, and I really 50 to 90% of the times I realize that, oh, this person was not studying the same for last 10 years. That's why he is so creative. He can think so different because he was studying something else and then he switched it, and then he's right now he is doing this or she is doing
No.
this. So I think such people are actually very motivating, and I get motivation from there, and I think still I'm learning a lot of things from them whom I don't know, but I just know their name and their work.
Yeah, I mean, knowledge is the best way to bring people together, I believe, no matter
Yeah,
where they're from or
totally.
who they are. It's a great, and I really like this idea you said, that they might have studied something else for 10 years and then just suddenly decided to drop that and move on. I think due to a lot of constraints and factors that sometimes people can't actually pursue what they like want to or what they
Yeah.
desire to, and then they move on to something else. Or even they might have like in the middle of life decide, actually, this is not the life I want to live 9 to 5 doing the same thing and change their
That's true.
passions or change their career path. And this brings this idea, I think that not a lot of people in even your story suggests that you might think something you want to study or pursue for like you have a strict career path of for someone who like myself thought if I want to do mechanical engineering, I was very interested in finance as well. I am still. And I thought, no, but if I want to do engineering, I must do engineering after college or like my bachelor's in something related to science, physics, or maths or engineering if I really want to do it in the future. When I realize now that's not actually the case. I could pursue something else. And if I don't enjoy it or if I think, no, my passion for engineering is greater, I could just, or anyone around the world who's listening to this can still decide to change their career at any moment. And the knowledge that you use from like before, even in school maybe, or from your other course, maybe you're doing arts, that can always help you and maybe work in your upper hand and your strength and make you unique, which is really lovely. And that's so nice.
Yeah.
And I think
There's
more people
always
should be
a door.
aware.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is always a door after a few steps. It's just you who have to decide if you are like courageous enough to take a turn and can go to another door. So it brings a
Yeah.
lot of magic, surprises, and difficulty and challenges. So just be prepared and try for fun. Life is only like you are getting it for once.
Yes, certainly. As a woman working in a highly technical field, what unique perspectives do you think you bring to your research and your academic community? And how can you encourage more young women to follow your footsteps, especially those like myself, considering to pursue a future in mechanical?
Actually, it's quite surprising. After my graduation, I'm never in a room where there are 50% female. So it really is very, sometimes it's very disappointing, but at the same time, I really think that someone who really wants to enter in STEM, especially females, they shouldn't be enter because of the gender gap, but because of the knowledge they have. And those knowledge comes from a very young age. Maybe those motivation comes from a very young age at least. So
Yes.
going to the roots and encouraging young females who are really young is very important, and that way I think they won't hear that, oh, you got admitted because we have like very few female
Female.
researchers. I really don't think so that should be the case, and I really hear a lot of things like this. I I think this is very important. That's why I will really suggest to start a bit early, work on the knowledge and the fundamentals, and we as in higher studies should do this. Take this opportunity to really educate them that STEM is too easy. I think I really believe that science is way more easy than humanities and any other social courses, because I have failed, terribly failed in all those courses when I studied.
Yeah.
It's just that we need some push. That's what where we began from. But we just need some push, and we should give that
A
push in the
support.
very early stage to support them to study STEM and then enter into the field with lot of knowledge as good as the as good as everyone in the room will have. So that will be really great.
That's, yeah, perfect. Like you said, that is very important in today's society. Considering how we are modernizing and adapting, this should be one of the key focus. Even in school right now, going to an international school, I still believe there's this big gap. In my class of physics, out of the 14 people, there are only two girls, which is quite disheartening. And considering it is an international school, like I mentioned, it's quite interesting to see that this is still like an issue, or like not enough girls are pursuing STEM related careers, especially I would say it's more technical, um, like subjects like engineering and like computing than it is like biochemistry. Whereas I do see a lot of my female friends and peers
Yeah,
be more
that's true.
concentrated.
A lot of friends are from biological sciences, but I really feel it's very difficult for me to find a friend from MAE. And wherever I see young students who are like
Yeah,
doing bachelors, and I just go greet them, and I say like, it's
you
so much
should do
fun to
that.
see someone.
Yeah, I think it's great. Like having someone older, like someone who's more experienced in these areas, give you a good conception because I believe there's a lot of misconception. My favorite subject's math, and whenever someone asks me this like question, oh, what's your favorite subject? And I say math, they always look at me, whether it's like an adult or whether it's my friends, they always look at me like with this weird um confusion in their mindset, like, oh, why do you like math? Like, who likes math? But I'm genuinely interested by the concept of learning so much and how numbers can actually help us in identifying so
Yeah,
many solutions to things. And that's always been something I've loved doing, like studying for. And this idea that people in society think, oh, girls don't like math, or like, who likes math because it's like considered to be a nerd subject, and this
yeah, that's
misconception can
true.
actually be damaging for a lot of people. So I really hope a lot of people like nowadays start taking initiative to change this mindset so it impacts the younger generations more. And I'm so glad you ask people in bachelors to talk about your experience, because I think knowing about people's personal experience is the best way to break this gap and help move forward and get some change in action. Yeah. Moving on. Um, Balancing a PhD with the pressure of research can obviously be tough. How do you manage your time and maintain a balance between your academic life and your personal life?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, looking from a master's, I think PhD is really tough. And yeah, I think because it's not a 9 to 5 job that you will just go like at 5, okay, it's fine. No,
Hmm.
actually PhD doesn't work like this. And personally, I personally think there are a lot more to learn from, because still it's a new for me. I really don't take it for granted. If I got the opportunity, I should like do my best and should pave a path for more students like me who can join, who are
Yes.
new to the field. Still there is a trust of school and even your supervisor that okay, this girl is gonna go ahead.
Yes.
So for that you really have to work hard. And I think uh, hard work is one of the key for going everywhere. The second thing is uh, enjoying your work, maybe because I enjoy my work, I don't feel like okay,
It's work.
it's over the office time.
Yeah.
I work till dinner or maybe after dinner sometimes, yeah. And because there is no bus service in NTU
Yes.
after 11, so
Okay.
no matter how far your lab is, you always have to come back by walk. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the case. And I think such thing, whenever I come back by work, I really think it makes me motivated for the next day as well. I think about what I've done today, what's my plan for tomorrow, and that's how it goes on and on. And then I think there is no feel of weekend or weekdays, but uh,
Yes.
in that in that race you have to like be touch in your friends and family, because the second motivation comes from them. The first motivation
Yes.
is always the failures that I encounter, and then they push me ahead. Good results also push me ahead, but bad results too. And the second
Yes.
is our family, so keep them together and be in touch. Apart from
I
that,
think
balancing is not that hard if you are surrounded with good people, and I think I'm blessed with that. So I don't think so I really need to balance, because everyone understand why I come back at 11.
that's really nice. Having support and like
Yeah,
friends, I believe family support is really important, especially for mental well-being, I think, right now
yeah,
these
that's
days.
true.
And that's really, I'm glad. Considering there's also this misconception, I think, that if you're doing engineering, you're just gonna be stuck in work 24/7, or like eat all that, like it's really hard to do and you can't have a break from it. Like you can't have the time to put your own needs first. But like you said, if you love it and you're doing it for you, it's never gonna seem as work, which is just
Yeah,
great, and which is something I want. Hopefully that happens to me when I decide what I want to
yeah, I
do, and the other
yeah,
people.
good results, bad results, all of them. You owe your your research, and you owe your progress. Then you feel like you are pushing yourself out of fun and out of curiosity, rather than because you have to do it. So yeah, I do
Yes,
take time for myself for for everything, but I still think that what makes me more content at the end of the day is my work in lab. So that's something, but I won't suggest everyone to like just follow blindly and just work so hard that you might affect your health. That's not the case.
yes.
I mean, every person is very different, and maybe taking
Limits
much
should be
more
known.
time outside of the lab is very important for someone's well-being, so they should follow their
Yeah,
own thing.
that's great to hear. So, my next question to you is, like you mentioned, you faced a lot of challenges and that have helped you push even further. Um, what are some of the most difficult obstacles you think you have encountered while working on your projects? And how did you manage to tackle them? Or what did it push, like you said, it pushed you, and how did it inspire you to even improve, maybe? Yeah.
So, luckily, because I'm in a very good institute, there is no physical barrier which can like which really obstruct me for working late till in my office or maybe in my lab. So I'm very lucky with that, and I think uh, that's a great motivation too for like pushing yourself, that you can land up to a place where there is safe to work till late, and you can like um, you can be your own on I mean be independent.
Yes.
uh, but at the same time, I think work is something which is challenging everywhere, and because for me, this particular problem which I'm trying to solve in my PhD is completely new for me. Every day I learn something.
Yes.
Language is not uh, that challenging, because I mean, you get used to the accent of the place where you are, so it's completely
Yes.
okay. uh but yeah, it's the only the work will, where you will like solve the problems. And I think more reading and more interacting with your fellows, and even going out of your lab to talk to people, to go in a social gathering and can ask in a
Yes.
room that, oh hi, how are you, I'm doing well, and what's your topic. And if somebody
Yeah.
says something familiar, you can ask, oh okay, I'm doing this, and I think there is something where I'm getting stuck, and this is the problem. And there is no one who is not going to help you, so just
Mm.
go forward, ask for help. It's okay if you don't know. Now there are a
Yes.
lot of things from where you can read, and all these things actually help me to like push.
Tackle. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I don't think so there are much challenges. Obviously, I sometimes feel in a meeting or somewhere where I feel I'm the only one
As a
female
girl.
present.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually there are some very funny incident used to completely happens with you. There is maybe there would be some program where you're invited because it's a gathering, and you are gonna be the only one, and you have
Yes.
no idea what kind of
What
clothing you
to,
have to carry on for
yeah.
this, because they might come in a trouser, or maybe they might be completely formal, but I have no idea what to wear because I can't ask anyone.
That's well, that's being a girl is a struggle, I would say sometimes, but
So
that's also something that fun and good,
these
I
are the
think.
funny challenges of being in in an unconventional field. Yeah, that's true.
Yes. But I think over time, these fields have gotten less like demystified or like myths have been busted. Especially like you mentioned Kalpana Chawla was one of the inspirers of
Yeah.
your journey here. Even when I was in India, I heard about her. My mom used to be the one to talk about Kalpana Chawla being one of the being the first female Indian to go out to the space, and her I remember making a poster for her for a school presentation still. So I would say like having even one female in the field can inspire so many children.
So many.
So
That's true.
regardless regardless, like you said, it's sometimes unconventional and you do realize you're going to be the only female. But I think that's such a big, and even though it might seem little or might seem like not like that big, like, oh, I'm going to be the only girl, it is still being at least one girl being present is so inspiring because that means that there is opportunities for others to come around. And I
Yeah.
remember like one of the points that you brought together was like this feeling that, oh, because I'm a girl, I it was easier for me to get in. I think this is also some like even in my brain, this is like an idea like, oh, I'm a girl, that gives me an upper hand when I'm applying to certain courses or certain like programs. But I think this is something that's just built within us. Even though this might not be the case, being a girl might actually work in a disadvantage
Yeah,
sometimes,
that's true.
like saying, oh, because I'm a girl, I might not get in. But being that because I'm a girl, I could get in, and being a girl present with surrounded by man, like just male in this like field, like you said, is quite inspiring and uplifting for me to hear because I could be like, that could be me if there's a possibility for one person to do so. There's
Yeah.
a possibility of me
Actually,
to do
that's
so.
why I mean I always encourage anyone who asks me suggestion that you
Yeah,
work on your fundamentals very hard, work for knowledge, and so that no one can say this to you that, oh, because
just
a
because.
company is recruiting you, it's not because you are talented enough, it's because they want to keep their gender balance. And that's very
Yeah,
discouraging. I have heard it so many times for some girls who are like doing very well in their field, they are in very
P
good companies, and I mean, just a general people who are commenting, oh, she got it, but she was not better than me. She got it
because
because
she's a girl.
they want recruited more girls for their company. It's for their company. But that's why I really think that we should work hard enough so that no one can say this, and you can
So
say
that's
it
to
on your face,
us.
on their face that no, no, I was better than you. That's why I got it.
You got it. Yeah, that the satisfaction with it,
Yeah,
breaking
that's
false
that satisfaction
perceptions
comes. Yeah, that satisfaction should come,
from
and you should be
within.
confident just because you have that extra knowledge and you have that extra talent. And I think this is where you have to start a bit early and try your best to get
Build
somewhere.
that self-esteem. Yeah, having that self-esteem and like you said, support is also important because
Very important.
it can be damaging to your mental health, especially if someone's like you're just like playing everything, your accomplishments on the fact of your gender, which could be said
Yeah.
for guys who just because of your guy you got this job. And that might not be the case and that might
Yeah,
not be
that might not
true.
be the case. Yeah,
So
it's same for
that is
guy too. Yeah.
yeah, this is I really enjoyed this. Actually, this is such an important, I think, idea that a lot of people still feel like is playing a key role in these times, which I don't think should like at least not now, not
Yeah,
like I think it's time to grow up from these ideas just because of your gender. That doesn't mean you're not good enough or you can't do some things.
that's true. Also, another thing that I feel that once you start becoming confident, being alone in a room rather than being nervous in a room, that day you are gonna be the next like Kalpana Chawla, who
Yes,
really
stand
who can
up.
really who can really be a role model for others. So whenever
Yes.
there you think the attendance is so low and I'm the only one girl gonna be in school, so just imagine someone who is alone in an entire NASA maybe, or maybe in entire
Yes.
space station. So imagine that and then think of that you should like be someone.
So when you're at those moments, what navigates you? Like you said, oh, I didn't know who to ask what kind of attire to wear, maybe. But what, like, if that situation happens not in a social event, but in a classroom, what do you think is like, how do you navigate out of those problems when you're the only one in one side and the others opposing you are men?
I think just wear, I mean, just not just in terms of clothes, but just be
Yeah.
what you are confident and you are comfortable in. That's the only key. I think beauty comes with smile. And if you
Yes.
have that confidence in yourself, then you will definitely smile.
That's good. That's actually really lovely. That's inspiring. Yeah, if you're happy and if you know what you're talking about, your confidence can't be shattered by just words.
Yeah,
And because you believe in yourself, I think, and believing in oneself is quite important, especially in these fields or in life in general, actually. Yeah, that's really helpful. I think a lot of girls in general struggle with confidence, regardless of it be like in academics, but confidence is genuinely the key to achieve a lot of things in life, even if you like fake it till you make it, you know. That
yeah,
I follow that quite religiously, the saying, because they can't harm me if they think I know like what I'm doing.
yeah.
Finally, where do you see women in STEM in the next decade, and what changes would you like to see in terms of representations or more opportunities or support for women in these fields?
Actually, now I think the scenario is changing. Not at the pace uh, we women might be expecting,
Yes.
but at least it's taking a pace. And now I think, as a parent or maybe as a teachers, people are becoming encouraging to send their daughters and son to the same school first. So I really
Yes.
think the good and the better school you will go, the less female students you will see. That's what the case was
Mm-hmm.
there when I was in my college. I think that was the case, but I think it cannot be possible just by support of women who are already there in the field of STEM. It's a collaborative kind of efforts, and I really think if mm, both male and female will push that, okay, females should be encouraged enough to come to STEM and work. And I really think female have that inbuilt capability of hard work, because they don't take things granted if they are given so. And
Yes.
they are very sincere, they are very disciplined. So these are the quality that I think is inbuilt. They are very passionate about things which they do. And I really think
Mm-hmm.
it's the same that is needed in STEM as well. So if they are pushed enough to, for like, in a very young age, to go ahead and to like to go to a good school, to go to a good college, to go to IIT, to go for a very good institute where they can prepare for all those competitive exams, things are gonna be very easy for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Certainly.
and not just educated sector of any country can help it, but maybe parents who are not educated enough, maybe a mother who didn't get opportunity but she wants her daughter to do everything what she cannot, a grandmother
Yes.
who wanted to do something that she
Sees
cannot, but
dream.
she
Yeah.
wants her granddaughter, even if maybe they are not educated, maybe they are not, but that kind of
Push.
contribution comes from everywhere, every field, every gender. And if everyone will like push hand in hand and try to make things equal for everyone, then it will be very very easy. And I think in next year
Impactful.
have that kind of 50-50 ratio.
I agree. I think in like I do believe that there's been a change and a constant adaptation in the way people think. The mindsets have started changing, and I do genuinely like this idea of girls. So I in India I have a foundation which has a vocational center that encourages girls who like pass 10th grade and 12th grade to further their studies, especially in rural areas. I believe not a lot of people are encouraged to like do work aside from household works. But in like over the past 4 years, I've seen the amount of admissions that we've received have like doubled and tripled. That at one point we were like, oh, we don't have anyone to like teach these courses. So like it's a technical computing course and tally courses, even though they're not related to engineering. There are still courses that were unusual at the time for girls in rural areas and villages to do. But over the last this year, we had like over triple that like people asking to sign up for the course, which was quite inspiring for me. And it's also just like you said, support of friends, support of family that helps them. When they pass, we have a ceremony for them, and I see their parents come with them, and they're also very proud of their accomplishments, and that just really lightens my heart up that people are seeing this change, and it is a small change, but it is adapting like over society and over time people are accepting this. So I completely agree with what you're saying. Firstly, this conversation has been quite inspiring to me. um I just want to say I've gotten great insight and advice, and your experiences and your thinking in all of these situations have really sparked something within me too, that has made me
Thank
think I shouldn't be more afraid and I should be more outspoken and more confident with what I'm doing, because I might be that one person making a change, like Kalpana Chawla was like, imagine being just the single girl and for my like maybe my children, my future generations to come, I would want to see more girls in these fields that I want to pursue. So
That's true.
it doesn't feel like unnatural for them, like, oh, there used to be no girls in these fields. That just
I
completely
think yeah,
inspired me.
that's something that I even I feel becoming a role model is such a surreal feeling, and I think I'm the first girl who came like out of India without their parents. Even for settling for the first time, also I came alone. I said, "No need
Yeah.
you to come. I will just go, and it's fine. It's absolutely fine." And I just come alone. I think after that, I see a lot of my juniors who are right now who are in IIT. They were not planning to go for a PhD outside because they think, no, I cannot be in a US, I cannot be in somewhere else. I'll just do it from India. And after looking at
Yes.
me, they are like, okay, I will also apply
Inspire
to US. I'll also apply to Singapore. I'll also apply to Europe. And it's something that pushed me a lot. And that's how
more.
I
Yeah.
start working hard and harder because I think there are people who are looking at me and are coming ahead, and I should uh, if I am a bit ahead of them, I should take that cue at
And
a much
helping them
more
out.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really inspiring. I get messages from those students, and they say, oh, Odi, you said to apply and you corrected my statement of purpose and you helped me in the application. You see, get
Yeah.
Pennsylvania State University in US. And I was like, oh wow, that's so amazing. I was scared to go to US, but see someone
Someone
whom I
else
like
got inside.
interest, and she's going to US for her PhD. It's so much fun, and it's so much encouraging for me too. Yeah,
Oh,
that's true.
that's so inspiring. I hope I can do that to someone at some point in life and help others out. But your story is such a great reminder of how we shouldn't maybe bend to social expectations. And even if we do, there's always time in the future to learn. And the learning that we've done in the past can only help us, even like
Yeah.
make us stand out in whatever we choose to do next. And that's very inspiring and very educational. And I think everyone hearing this podcast will also relate and understand with like so many topics that we've touched upon today. And it might like hit home for a lot of people like it did to me in some points. Um, and if you're inspired by our conversation today, please go check out Miss Sakshi's research. I will be linking your LinkedIn in the description box. So yeah, and any last words, any last advice? I actually have a question for you. What, like you mentioned, you like reading a lot, especially about engineering. Is there any book you would like to suggest students to inspire them even further, or reading
Uh,
material that you think is like,
I think um, scientific readings are mostly from research papers because textbooks are so old
they can
nowadays.
only help
But
you some way? Yeah.
yeah, but fictional books can also help you. And some people now they don't like to read books a lot. So for them, I'll suggest to go for maybe movie. There are a lot of inspiring movie as well. Day before yesterday, I watched a movie based on African American scientist, women scientists who solved mathematics for going in space. For
Yes.
the first, what's the name of
I
the movie?
remember, I actually remember what I've seen it on my TikTok. Actually, I think TikTok gave me this
I
inspiration.
saw the movie day
And
before yesterday. The hidden something.
Hidden Figures, I think is the name.
The
I
hidden figures.
will,
Yeah, yeah, it's true. The
yeah.
hidden figures is the name of the movie. Yeah, right,
Yes,
right,
that's actually quite inspiring movie. I even like I remember like small scenes from that movie and they like spark something on me.
and those
I
who can
will
read books should read Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, especially The Wings of Fire is one of the best book I'll suggest.
really, okay, I will add that to my reading list today and hopefully read it and I will update you
Yeah,
on how I like it. Um, but thank you so much for your time and joining me today. It's been a great
thank you.
pleasure having you at Beyond the Equation. And I'm so excited to begin my journey and inspire girls like you have done so. And I really appreciate you giving your time to me and to all the listeners who joined in for this conversation. I think
Thank
this
you
has
so
helped
much,
them a
Ashika,
great
for
deal.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for counting on me that I could be the one on your
Uh,
podcast. And I really think that you will do very, very, very well in your future, especially in the field of
thank
MA. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So don't forget to tune in for next week for another inspiring guest who makes waves in the field of STEM. And thank you so much, Ms. Sakshi, for joining us today.